Yeah, so I don't even have an intro for this, so this would do, whatever you guys think. Alright, so for trash cleaning, I've been, you know, pretty much been doing that for around a decade, which is kind of crazy to think about sometimes. But yeah, so I've been picking up trash as volunteer work, or I've been doing that as a job for like custodian in high school. So I've been pretty much doing that as well for just like about a year for that job. Pretty much like I've been doing that, so you know I thought might as well do this video because I never thought of for my years doing trash cleaning for a few years for YouTube as well. I never really upload for this type of video as well, so I thought why not we just get this like let's like try to make this video at least. Alright, so here's someone who's finally making a long-awaited appearance on the show.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. My name is Wildcat. That is a name that I pretty much personally would not use. I am pretty much making my first debut, and because I would have made my debut before, but I guess
Well, with my
apparently I guess
defense,
I was too high budget to appear at least in one video.
I technically would have put you in the video, but it's like it would cost money to even download some sort of like any software for to make an animation.
Editing software usually made me this in Autodesk Sketchbook.
Oh well, I mean it was technically for free. I technically used the app to make YouTube thumbnails back in the day.
Alright, I'm out of here.
So yeah, I've been doing trash cleaning for like 10 years. I pretty much would go on the streets. I would go usually around the parks, neighborhoods, parking lots, etc. Like yeah. So let's see. I would probably would say for number one is closing. So I don't think it really would matter that much if you people like, if you're like in California or somewhere or like any other places in the area or something that you pretty much would just wear whatever. I pretty much will recommend wearing like some sort of like a sun protection type of hats. Like one of those like large like circle-ish hats. Which I used to wear those, for my earlier YouTube videos. Or like they're also kind of called like straw hats. I think that's what they're called. Uh, excuse me. So that's something that I pretty much will wear also. I recommend always like have yourself like water bottles and stuff, even for those days, to keep yourself hydrated. And yeah, so like as far as like trash cleaning as well, even if you're gonna be carrying something to pick up trash with, for gloves, I pretty much will wear like one of these. Like they're not like kitchen type of gloves. They're usually those there will be more plastic, but as you guys could see, like these are like a little bit more like clothing on top here and working type of gloves, which usually you could find those mostly like in stores like Walmart or Home Depot, which the one that if you see my earlier YouTube is I wear like sort of like these red and black gloves, which those ones are pretty much the most that I use for my YouTube videos. And also the red because if you see my, I don't know what would you call it, like my original kind of attire or like my primary gear, I pretty much will wear something like a yellow shirt and like a brown vest. And yeah, also that's where I wear like the red gloves. So it's kind of like I put that for like my character sort of thing. So it's not something that I pretty much would just pick any other colors like yellow and gray, which they also have those type of colors like at Home Depot and such. Some of those will be pretty much like expensive though. I don't know how too expensive would be, but you would think it would be cost like around less than $10, but no, usually those would cost like around at least $15 or something. As long as you have something to pick up trash with, you technically don't really need those types of gloves anyways if you don't want to get your hands dirty. That's pretty much about it as far as clothing goes. Like I said, these are optionals, but so if you really want to as well, you could wear one of those like public working vests where you kind of will see them wear like sometimes like greenish. I pretty much will wear those in some of my YouTube videos, but well, that's for like community cleanup. If you want to join those, then that's for the next part of for this video, which sometimes they have you wear them, but that is optional if you want to wear them even if during your own time. But yeah, that's something that you could wear those as well if that's optional for you. So yeah, chapter two is pretty much items and equipment. So this is the part where you pretty much would need the most when you're going trash cleaning. Now, of course, I did mention about the working type of gloves. If you prefer to just like pick a trash with your like gloves and such, which you can, which I can admit, there were days I actually did do that. Just for the sake of like burning some fat because I am fat boy myself, so that's something that I pretty much would would just do just for my choice for the heck of it. So, but for people who don't want to get their gloves dirty, which is kind of understandable because when you're using gloves to pick up trash, you kind of have to remove them, and one of them is gonna touch the glove anyway, so you kind of don't want to do that. I pretty much will recommend, for like those pickup sticks that you pretty much would mostly see them in, I don't know, like custodians at schools or something, or like janitors would use. You can ask them, which I've asked them before, but that was because I was working with them at that Pacific school, which I was also attending to as well. If you're looking for just an online or something like that, you can use like those pickup sticks that you could find like in Amazon, but those are really, even though they're cheap, which is like around $10 at least, but they can sometimes work or something might not last for long because I use those cheap ones at Dollar Tree like my earliest days of trash cleaning, and yeah, those could really not last for that long, which the longest I've used for like at least like 2 weeks for just trash cleaning. But yeah, those are pretty much it, which I don't really recommend those, but that's if you don't really care and you just want to pick up like very small pieces, but still I don't recommend those honestly, like at Dollar Trees in those areas. But you can find them in online, like I said, Amazon. But it really depends. Which I never really bought them Amazon, which I never really had a chance to. But the ones that I've seen like GarboGrabber.com, which you see my little like orange like roundish like bag holder, which I don't know, I forgot what it's called exactly, which it's been a while since I used that one. But I use that's where I know they sell those pickup sticks, which they pretty much have different prices as well, like around $15 at least I think. But you can use like a dust pad as well, but you can find those at a Dollar Tree or 99-cent stores, or or like in or like dust pad or like a broom and stuff like that, which you can find those in stores, like even in like Walmart, Home Depot. But I pretty much would recommend dust pad and brooms like Dollar Trees because they're just more cheaper, and like those could pretty much work very well as for those, like for trash cleaning in the streets. So yeah, for trash bags, I pretty much would use mostly in my YouTube videos. I use those hefty bags, and I forgot what was that one other trash bag that I also used that John Cena was even part of the commercials at one point.
New low price. Nice. His name is John Cena. That's what I'm talking about.
I use those type of bags because they're more strong and more hold to use because I pick up a lot of trash, so I use that to carry the amount of trash because sometimes you find a lot more than just like a simple like small bag. So if you're just looking for like small trash, not looking for any like huge ones, you can use like one of those like groceries plastic bags. You can use those hefty bags, but I'm pretty sure like you could find like somewhere like a little bit less less money because those hefty bags could be cost like around almost like around $30 at least. Usually I would buy them like around 27, 28, something dollars, and mostly like Home Depot, you know, in those areas. But yeah, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, if you could find those a little bit more cheaper if you don't have like if you don't want to spend that much money, which there are like the other options for those as well. So yeah, especially for me, that whenever I use like trash, like big hefty bags or trash bags, I would have like so much trash that's so full, but it kind of gets heavy when you're carrying them on your shoulder. It just looks like you're actually doing your like it looks like you're actually doing like huge job of like carrying stuff. But if you want to pick up like large trash, but you also don't want to like carry as much on your shoulder, which is totally understandable. I get so tired of doing that as well. You can use, which I also use for my old videos, as one of those folding shopping carts, which I also use those, for my some of my past videos, which I use that for shopping carts. You can find those areas as for those as well for like one of those like discount like stores or like one of those 99-cent stores that you could find those. I don't remember how much they cost. I remember I seen it before, but I don't remember how much they would cost, like 16, $20 maybe. I think they're all depending with size as well. But yeah, you can find them also on Amazon. But yeah, they also can depend on the size as well because some they do have different size, some they do have like a little bit smaller, which they're more used for like grocery shopping mostly. But you can use those if you want to pick up trash as well, which those ones I do definitely recommend as well. Which I've seen those before, but I never really like used them before. So I don't know how good they would be, but it seems like they're more good to use.
Chuck Klarman's still keeping his highway clean. Chuck Klarman?
But yeah, that's about it, at least for items and equipment. So that's something that I pretty much would use for my trash cleaning as well. Chapter 3, Time and Place. This one's pretty much for places, this is what I mentioned a little bit earlier in my video, is like places that you will find trash, like whether it's your neighborhoods or like in your street areas, parking lots, alleyways, what would be another one? Parks, like etc. Like you could pretty much like find trashes like pretty much if you're just doing your errands, where you could find those like pretty much like when you're just easily just crossing your own street, which yeah, it really depends on areas as well. If wherever you guys decide to pick up trash, because in LA it could be quite of chaotic, you could say. So, I've been living in LA for like around 23 years, so it is kind of a little bit of I don't know what I would say, but a little bit you have to be more aware of places as well. So this is where I do mention where, like, for example, for time, I prefer to pick up trash like around a little bit late morning to early afternoon, like mostly in the middle of the day, which I pretty much recommend the most. At nighttime, which I don't really pick up trash like at midnight or I'm sorry, like at nighttime, I don't pick up trash much at nighttime, but I have like usually like around 7 or 8 at least. But I pretty much would avoid like at nighttime even. I pretty much would just avoid like alleyways and such because it's depending on the areas in LA. You want to avoid like violent like crime places around those streets. So I pretty much will be very cautious about those places. At least like don't I wouldn't be anywhere near those places, of course. I recommend just pick up like more public areas like parking lots or like in around daytime like in stores or like parks around those days. Which even for parks, I don't recommend like picking the trash at nighttime as well. So always be cautious for those places like that and for those time and days specifically because it can be dangerous even places like and anywhere else of course. So that is something that I pretty much will recommend, of course, for adults or parents who have children, which sometimes you gotta be very careful when you pick up trash in the areas because sometimes when you pick up trash, like you're never gonna really know where you're gonna find anyways. And so I pretty much would recommend or be a little bit more cautious for children to pick up trash because it's as much as great to have like children as well to go outside, to know what they could find, or even yourself, you're never gonna know what you're finding. So you gotta be careful with that. You might find some like bunch of like broken glass. You might find some private stuff that I'm not to go into details on that one, but for parents, I'm pretty sure you can guess what it is.
The word I'm searching for, I can't say because there's preschool toys present.
So yeah, that's something that I pretty much I think that's about it. For community cleanups, which I have done I pretty much went for community cleanups in my videos before, and they're great. They're actually fun. You can meet people. You can meet like people around your neighborhoods as well that you never met before. Really, I met most of them. Like, I pretty much met like all of them at least. Like they pretty much like were like very nice. Especially like even getting to know them, which is something that is really great about community cleanups as well because there are a little bit more like safe areas, especially in a group. So you could be a lot more safer, when you're going trash cleaning with them. But sometimes it really depends on areas or cities that really announce or have posted that stuff for social media to have volunteers or anyone who wants to join for community cleanups. So they have specific days and time and areas, for that stuff. So that's something that you can also look at as well, which I've used social media in the past, which I don't anymore, but I used to have social media in the past where I pretty much would join community cleanups and for this time and place for that stuff. So that's something that I pretty much, you can also have kids as well for those areas. At least they're more safer, for to have. So yeah, there's something I forgot. There's like few things I want to add. So when once you pretty much already pick up those trashes, pretty much if it's full, then of course depending on if like the bag is like a very small bag or something. So Pretty much it really depends. Pretty much like you could technically just throw them like in dumpsters areas, which there it really depends if some areas would allow from people like that throw dumps in their dumpsters. But most of the time, I actually do use my own trash cans at home, and I would just throw them in there. But yeah, you could also throw in like trash bins as well, like around the corners, like in the streets area. So like you could do that as well, which usually you will find like one of those like trashes that you could just throw in like by the next to like bus stops. Avoid like stepping into people's properties because obviously like it's like it's their property area, so it's like even if you're not doing nothing like intentionally wrong. Another thing also, this is something that I actually also would do from time to time. So yeah, when it comes to recycling bottles, like I pretty much have, like whenever I'm picking a trash, I would pretty much would collect bottles a lot. So this is something that I actually wanted. I was kind of hesitant to really tell the story, but someone who's really well into the community cleanup or like who's pretty much really well known on social media. I used to have an argument with this person, and I gotta say who it is in particular, but I had to sort of back and forth with the person because their question, like I get it from their perspective, they're really more focused on the climate activist sort of side, so they pretty much lean more towards the idea that like why would you even buy bottles of water bottles if it's just a scam, and it's just like hey, I'm just getting something to drink, and it's like if it means that I could really just sell them to make some little bit of cash. That's all I'm doing. My intention, of course, is to just put like food on the table, of course. So it's like, for me, I pretty much would find bottles and would just pretty much just take it to the recycling center. I am absolutely as someone who picks up trash over the years, and some people might even assume that I am part of that and as a climate activist or something, which I am absolutely not. I'm absolutely like far from it. I don't know if I would even say I'm a black sheep because of my opinions on bottles, but but that is just me who's just absolutely just collecting bottles, just for the sake of like extra cash or something. So yeah, Trash Boy ain't always like a super great type of person, which I never really say that to begin with. So that's something that's their mistake, and don't make no mistake about that.
And that's all I got to say about that.
And yeah, so like if you're pretty much having fun doing it, like always do it for the fun, of course, because I seen like pretty much like it's quite common on YouTube, not necessarily this specifically, but there are people on the internet who pretty much would do things just for the sake of rewards and not for say for like the passion. So it's like, it's like don't get me wrong, I never really gotten rewards, for trash clean specifically, but it's I got one of those like type of rewards, like it's like little like papers that you'll find like at Dollar Tree, which back then I pretty much knew, but I still cherish Fortnite and I still have those even to this day. And so it's like, it's like obviously just do it for the fun and not for the sake of rewards, some BS stuff like that. So especially, I never gotten those stuff for the city, but I really don't give a like trashes about those types of people anyways. But it also like have fun, Trash cleaning is absolutely it can be the most funnest things and also like it's almost like an adventure sometimes because you never know what to find. You might find some interesting things. I found interesting things before. Which fun fact, when I was trash cleaning, I actually picked up like this little Pokemon card, which that was sort of cool as well. I never know what you'll find, but also it's also can be an exciting part when you're just having fun like trash cleaning or like picking up trash in the street. So I could do like a more parts for this video. So
Yes, and don't forget to really give the audience appreciation for their time to watch your all like pretty much low budget type of videos.
you left.
Of course, I didn't leave. I mean, after all, I am technically the best part of the show.
Yeah, whatever.